Because sources say Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund is considering an IPO of the oil and gas drilling company Mideast Holding. It comes less than half a year after the PIF and other investors took the company private. Simone Foxman has more on this. So Simone, what else do we know about the components of this agreement?
Well, you know what really stuns me here, Yusuf? You mentioned that this company was taken private a year and a half ago back, that was announced in March 2021. At the time when Saudi PIF and a bunch of its other major shareholders went and bought out minority stakeholders, they paid at a valuation of $516 million. Now we understand PIF is considering potentially IPOing at least part of this for a value of $5 billion. So look at what's happened over the last year and a half with respect to investor enthusiasm for Gulf IPOs, for enthusiasm for oil companies and those tied to energy generally. This is an oil services provider that works with the likes of Aramco, Kuwait Oil Company, so a very interesting play and way to get in on that energy story generally. But certainly for PIF, that's looking to monetize some of its stakes in well-performing companies, this may be the right time. I know you were talking with just Eric Swatz a few minutes ago about the IPO market in general, and Goldman Sachs' prediction that this continues into 2023. In particular, GS points out that more and more investors want to get exposure to this region, and that's really a key reason they see this continuing into the next year.
So Simone, I know that yesterday we talked about the deadly attack in Istanbul on a busy street, a number of people dead, 80 people injured. What more do we know?
Well, right now, Turkey's government increasing its blame on PKK, the Kurdistan Workers' Party, saying that it arrested a woman who claimed to be a special intelligence officer for the PKK. She was a Syrian national. The government claims she entered the country illegally, left a bomb near a park bench, and then took off in a taxi. Now, the PKK, which is regarded as a terrorist organization in Turkey as well as among Western allies, strongly denies that it has any involvement in this attack. So we're seeing this sort of back and forth between these two sides, but think of the political implications here, right? Turkey has been very concerned over Sweden's support for Kurdish groups, has cracked down on Kurdish groups, other Kurdish groups within Turkey itself, and Kurdish voters are in a very important voting bloc that are going to be looking towards next year's election, likely to vote more for the opposition. So this throws a bit of a wrench into potentially opposition plans to bring them into the party.
The dilemma in the meantime for a property giant like Emaar Properties when it comes to long-term investment is that they're still about 45% below the stock price of 8 years ago. This latest batch of third quarter earnings, how does that maybe get them closer to making a comeback?
Well, certainly the profits for Emaar, which came out yesterday, very strong, up 47% from third quarter last year. But what I also noted was that profits and revenues both missed some of the analysts' forecasts. We've seen a dramatic run-up in share price for Emaar as a part of this enthusiasm about the property market story in Dubai. But have investors kind of gotten over their skis? The commentary we got on this earnings statement, and we're waiting for more, is that there's an uptrend in Dubai property market sector. Recurring revenues are set to continue to grow, and then we're going to see tourism season bring a little bit more excitement into things like hospitality and retail. But are investors kind of just too excited now? Have some of the catalysts that pushed us up all year, have they faded? I think that's kind of the question we're going to be asking here.
So I know that you're revving up for the World Cup. I don't know what tickets Yusuf has got to go and see any games and what the betting is. But the question on the MLive team today is, I think this is a bit harsh, Yusuf, isn't it?
I'm just trying to get a seat beside you. I know that's going to be the winning seat.
Well, I don't know what that is, but here you go. Here's the MLive blog. Jump into it. What is your World Cup underdog bet? I think that is really harsh, Simone. But what are the betting at the moment? Who's the poor team that's going to come home crying?
Well, it's so harsh because, you know, you look at the top teams and these are all the major players. I wrote them down. Brazil, France, Argentina, England, Spain. I mean, yeah, I think that would probably be the very exciting one for English fans that feel like they've been robbed over past success. But for me, one of the underdogs, I think, is got to be Denmark. They had this pretty spectacular run at the Euros last year. They were the underdog there. They're not like at the top of the list, but maybe they have a chance to kind of take it all.
I don't agree with any of this, by the way. I mean, I'm looking at Ladbrokes, 500 to 1 on Saudi Arabia. That sounds to me like a pretty good risk-reward kind of scenario.